A major function of leaders is to support the motivation of other individuals and groups. There are approaches to motivating people that are destructive. For example, fear and intimidation. While these approaches can seem very effective in promptly motivating people, the approaches are hurtful, and in addition, they usually only motivate for the short term. There are also approaches that are constructive. For example, effective delegation and coaching. These constructive approaches can be very effective in motivating others and for long periods of time. Different people can have quite different motivators. For example, by more money, more recognition, time off from work, promotions, opportunities for learning, or opportunities for socializing and relationships. Therefore, when attempting to help motivate people, it's important to identify what motivates each of them. Ultimately, though, long-term motivation comes from people motivating themselves. The topic of motivating employees is extremely important to managers and supervisors. Despite the importance of the topic, several myths persist, especially among new managers and supervisors. Before looking at what management can do to support the motivation of employees, it's important first to clear up these common myths.
The first rule is, treat your audience as king.
Myth number 1 states, I can motivate people. Not really. They have to motivate themselves. You can't motivate people any more than you can empower them. Employees have to motivate and empower themselves. However, you can set up an environment where they best motivate and empower themselves. The key is knowing how to set up the environment for each of your employees.
The second rule is, spread ideas and move people.
Myth number 2 states, money is a good motivator. Not really. Certain things like money, a nice office, and job security can help people from becoming less motivated, but they usually don't help people to become more motivated. A key goal is to understand the motivations of each of your employees.
The next rule is, help them see what you're saying.
Myth number 3, fear is a damn good motivator. Fear is a great motivator for a very short time. That's why a lot of yelling from the boss won't seem to light a spark under employees for a very long time.
Rule number 4, practice design, not decoration.
Myth number 4, I know what motivates me, so I know what motivates my employees. Not really. Different people are motivated by different things. I may be greatly motivated by earning time away from my job to spend more time with my family. You might be motivated much more by recognition of a job well done. People are not motivated by the same things. Again, a key goal is to understand what motivates each of your employees.
The last rule is, cultivate healthy relationships with your slides and your audience.
Myth number 5, increased job satisfaction means increased job performance. Research shows this isn't necessarily true at all. Increased job satisfaction does not necessarily mean increased job performance. If the goals of the organization are not aligned with the goals of employees, then employees aren't effectively working towards the mission of the organization.
So, those are the rules, but the question remains, why go to all this trouble? Why not do it the way you're used to?
The first principle states, motivating employees starts with motivating yourself. It's amazing how, if you hate your job, it seems like everyone else does too. If you are very stressed out, it seems like everyone else is too. Enthusiasm is contagious. If you're enthusiastic about your job, it's much easier for others to be too. Also, if you're doing a good job of taking care of yourself and your own job, you'll have much clearer perspective on how others are doing in theirs. A great place to start learning about motivation is to start understanding your own motivation. The key to helping to motivate your employees is to understand what motivates them. So what motivates you? Consider, for example, time with family, recognition, a job well done, service, learning, or much more. How is your job configured to support your own motivation? What can you do to better motivate yourself? The second basic principle states, always work to align goals of the organization with goals of employees. As mentioned before, employees can be all fired up about their work and be working very hard. However, if the results of their work don't contribute to the goals of the organization, then the organization is not any better off than if the employees were sitting on their hands, maybe even worse off. Therefore, it's critical that managers and supervisors know what they want from their employees. These preferences should be worded in terms of goals for the organization. Identifying the goals for the organization is usually done during strategic planning. Whatever steps you take to support the motivation of your employees, ensure that employees have strong input to identifying their goals and that these goals are aligned with the goals of the organization. The third basic principle states, key to supporting the motivation of your employees is understanding what motivates each of them. Each person is motivated by different things. Whatever steps you take to support the motivation of your employees, they should first include finding out what it is that really motivates each of your employees. You can find this out by asking them, listening to them, or even observing them. The fourth basic principle states, recognize that supporting employee motivation is a process, not a task. Organizations change all the time, as do people. Indeed, it is an ongoing process to sustain an environment where each employee can strongly motivate themselves. If you look at sustaining employee motivation as an ongoing process, then you'll be much more fulfilled and motivated yourself. And the last basic principle states, support employee motivation by using organizational systems. Don't just count on good intentions. Don't just count on cultivating strong interpersonal relationships with employees to help motivate them. The nature of these relationships can change greatly, for example, during times of stress. Instead, use reliable and comprehensive systems in the workplace to help motivate employees. For example, establish compensation systems, employee performance systems, organizational policies and procedures, just to name a few. Also establish various systems and structures that help ensure clear understanding and equitable treatment of all employees. So as a leader, there are some steps you can take to support the motivation of others. The following items that are going to be discussed are the steps that you can do towards supporting your employees to motivate themselves in your organization. First, you want to briefly write down the motivational factors that sustain you and what you can do to sustain them. This little bit of motivation planning can give you strong perspective on how to think about supporting the motivations of your employees. Second, work with each employee to ensure their motivational factors are taken into consideration in your reward system. For example, their jobs might be redesigned to be more fulfilling. You might find more means to provide recognition, if that's important to them. You might even develop a personnel policy that rewards employees with more family time. 3. Have one-on-one meetings with each employee. Employees are motivated more by your care and concern for them than by your attention to them. Get to know your employees, their families, their favorite food, names of their children, and things of that nature. This can sound manipulative, and it will be if not done sincerely. However, even if you sincerely want to get to know each of your employees, it may not happen unless you intentionally set aside a time to be with each of them. 4. Cultivate strong skills in delegation. Delegation includes conveying responsibility and authority to your employees so they can carry out certain tasks. However, you leave it up to your employees to decide how they will carry out the task. Skills in delegation can free up a great deal of time for managers and supervisors. It also allows employees to take a stronger role in their job, which usually means more fulfillment and motivation in their jobs as well. 5. Reward it when you see it. A critical lesson for new managers and supervisors is to learn to focus on employee behaviors, not on employee personalities. Performance in the workplace should be based on behaviors towards goals, not on popularity of employees. You can get in a great deal of trouble for focusing only on how you feel about your employees rather than what you're seeing them do every day. 6. Reward it soon after you see it. This helps to reinforce the notion that you highly prefer the behaviors that you're currently seeing from your employees. Often, the shorter the time between an employee's action and your reward for the action, the clearer it is to the employee that you highly prefer that action. 7. Implement at least the basic principles of performance management. Good performance management includes identifying goals, measures to indicate if the goals are being met or not, ongoing attention and feedback about measures towards the goals, and corrective actions to redirect activities back towards achieving the goals when necessary. Performance management can focus on organizations, groups, processes in the organization, and employees. 8. Establish goals that are smarter. Smarter goals are specific, measurable, acceptable, realistic, timely, extending of capabilities, and rewarding to those involved. 8. Clearly convey how employee results contribute to organizational results. Employees often feel strong fulfillment from realizing that they're actually making a difference. This realization often requires clear communication about organizational goals, employee progress towards those goals, and celebration when the goals are met. And lastly, and probably most importantly, celebrate achievement. This critical step is often forgotten. New managers and supervisors are often focused on getting a lot done. This usually means identifying and solving problems. Experienced managers come to understand that acknowledging and celebrating a solution to a problem can be every bit as important as the solution itself. Without ongoing acknowledgement of success, employees become frustrated, skeptical, and even cynical about efforts in the organization.